Welcome to Alabama Justice Lawyering Up. My name is Richard Jaffe, the senior partner in the Birmingham, Alabama law firm of Jaffe, Hanle, Whisonant, and Knight. We are going to explore with you the hottest cases, the most controversial topics of Alabama justice, and we're going to bring to you exciting key players that make our Alabama justice work or not work. We look forward to having you. Welcome to our inaugural show of Alabama Justice. I am Richard Jaffe, senior partner of Jaffe, Hanle, Whisonant, and Knight. And next to me is one of my partners, Michael Whisonant. We are excited to bring you the inside, what you can't get anywhere else, the inside of the criminal justice system with extraordinary guests and fascinating topics. And tonight, for our inaugural show, we've got someone who I would say, of anyone in the country, has more experience in more aspects of the criminal justice system than retired Judge Tommy Nail. Judge Nail, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Richard. Glad to be here.
It's an honor to have you. So let's start off with, tell us a little bit about you and how you became a lawyer and then a judge.
Well, you want me to start?
Anywhere
how early?
You'd like. Yeah.
Well, I guess to begin with, when I was in college, I had no idea I wanted to be a lawyer till toward the end of my college career. But because of financial reasons, I wasn't able to go immediately. So I was in the teaching and coaching profession for 4 years before I decided to go back to law school. And then I really never intended to practice law. I just felt like it hit me in business. And then, of course, circumstances changed, and I ended up, after law school, going to work for the district attorney's office in Jefferson County. Mr. Earl Morgan, the longtime district attorney in Jefferson County, gave me a great opportunity to work in that office. And I was in that office for almost 10 years. It was like 9 years and 6 months. And then eventually left and went into private practice. And then I decided to run for judge in 1998 and got elected and took office in 99, January. And stayed on the bench for 18 years and recently retired in January of 2017. So that's kind of the short version.
So you've basically been a key player in every side of the criminal justice system.
Pretty much.
What is the difference between what a lawyer does and what a district attorney or prosecutor does?
Well, a lawyer, whether he be a prosecutor or a defense attorney, is an advocate for their particular client or their side. If you're the prosecutor, you're representing the state of Alabama. Lawyers represent an individual, and their job is to advocate for that. I view a judge as more of a referee. He used to call balls and strikes, try to see that both sides get a fair trial. You're not advocating for the prosecution or you're not advocating for the defense. Hopefully, if every segment of the system works properly, the results are a fair outcome. It's when one or the other breaks down that their problems arise.
And I heard you say that you became a lawyer initially because you thought it would help you in business, but then you were both a prosecutor and a defense lawyer. What made you decide to run for a judge and become a judge?
Well, you know, I'd been a defense lawyer for 15 years when I decided to run for judge. And you want the true story is I got mad at a judge and I thought, well, you know, I can do a better job than that. And there was an opportunity for an open seat, a new position was created by the legislature because of the crowded dockets in Jefferson County, and I said, well, I'll just run for it. And I did and got elected. So that's kind of the motivation that got me into the judge business, so to speak.
And I remember when that happened because you and I were in court trying the longest, at the time, federal criminal case in the history of Birmingham.
At least the capital case. It was
at least the capital
murder case.
That's right. And it was amazing because you had very little time to campaign, and yet you won very handedly.
Well, you know, sometimes circumstances, things come together, and, you know, it was one of those situations, I think, where everything came together for me. We finished that trial in August in federal court, and the election was in November, and the federal judge was kind enough to let me withdraw from the appeal that followed from that trial. So if she hadn't, I would have really been in trouble, but it worked out okay.
So when you became a judge, there was a motivation that you could do it better, and I assume you mean you could be, for sure, fair to both sides, having experience on both sides.
That's what I meant when I said what I did earlier. I felt like I had a unique perspective that I could be fair to both sides. You know, sometimes the information that gets out to the public about criminal cases is not real accurate. It's certainly never complete until the trial's over, as you know, because there's things that's not released to the general public that impact what happens in a case.
So what did you learn from your motivation that made you the kind of judge that led you to become the presiding judge and to stay one for 18 years?
Well, first of all, I felt like I could make a difference as a judge and promote justice and be fair to people, because when you don't get fair results, you don't get justice. If people are wrongly convicted, that doesn't further the ends of justice, as we've seen over the years with DNA. People do get wrongly convicted and they get exonerated sometimes years later. So, you know, if it's not done properly, you don't get good results, just like in a manufacturing process. If you don't put good workmanship and good materials into building a product, it's not going to work effectively when it's put on the market. Well, the same thing with justice.
It depends on those who administer.
Absolutely.
What is probably the biggest challenge you recall from being a judge and making sure that trials went fairly?
I'm not sure how to answer that, Richard, other than I just felt like that I had so much experience, particularly in the criminal field, that, you know, most of this was second nature because I'd been dealing with it as a lawyer. And I'll be honest with you, a lawyer's work's a lot harder than being a judge because you've got all the preparation and stuff that goes into representing a client, whether you're a prosecutor or whether you're a defense lawyer. I showed up every day. Most of the time had very little information about the cases until I got into court. And as you know, all the judge sees is the motions and that are filed, and sometimes you get an inkling of what the issues are, and sometimes you don't, until you get into hearings and start listening to testimony and what witnesses have to say. So as I used to tell the juries, I'm hearing this for the first time, just like you are.
I've heard you say that.
So, you know, you're hearing it for the first time a lot of times in open court. So, having that, you know, 25 some odd years of being a litigator myself on one side or the other gives you a really unique advantage when you're sitting up there on the bench.
Indeed.
So I think that answers your question.
It does. We'll take a break and look forward to some more, hopefully, probing questions in just a moment.
Okay.
Head to Carl Cannon. Their dream team makes it real easy to do business.
Here at Carl Cannon Chevrolet, we offer a wide variety of vehicles. Trucks is one of our main things that we have here. We offer them that can be dinghy-towed, flat-towed, and we also have vehicles that can tow between 3,500 pounds all the way to 17,500 pounds. So if you need a vehicle that can just take you to church on Sundays or pull the load on Mondays, we've got them all right here for you. Carl Cannon. Been here for 50 years. Come see us in Jasper.
Other dealers can't, Cannon can.
Carl Cannon, Chevy Buick GMC Cadillac in Jasper.
Every day, students at Bevel State Community College tell their own stories. They tell them through the accomplishments they achieve, the choices they make for career success, and through recommendations they share with friends. With 5 locations serving 7 counties and tuition lower than 4-year colleges, now is the time to start writing your own success story. Your story starts at Bevel State.
Head to Carl Cannon. Their dream team makes it real easy to do business.
Hi, my name is Christy Glenn Hotch, and I'm here at Carl Cannon Chevrolet. I've been here for about 3 years, and I'm in a 2016 Sierra Denali. My dad, Bobby Glenn, was here at Carl Cannon for about 52 years. Please come and let me take care of you just like he took care of his customers. Thank you.
Other dealers can't, Cannon can.
Carl Cannon, Chevy Buick GMC Cadillac in Jasper.
Welcome back, and I'd like to begin this portion of our interview with asking you, is there a large difference between the quality of lawyers on both sides, prosecutors and defense lawyers, in your courtroom? And
Well, yeah, it's like any other profession. You see some people are better suited for litigation than others. Unfortunately, some lawyers don't always prepare the way they should. They're not always as knowledgeable about the rules of evidence and procedure as they should be. So you see it vary all over the board. It's always a pleasure to try a case where both lawyers are prepared and know what they're doing and know the rules. It's very difficult when one side, or both sometimes, don't know the rules, they're not very prepared, and it's very difficult to ensure that both sides get a fair trial when that occurs.
And if either lawyer doesn't really know the rules of evidence, et cetera, that can affect the fairness result.
Absolutely. Evidence gets in that maybe shouldn't get in. Maybe evidence doesn't get in that should get in. So it really affects the quality of the decision if the lawyers don't know the rules and don't know the evidence and are not prepared.
Judge, a lot's changed since you've been on the bench, and including from the perspective of judicial administration, and a lot of constraints that the legislature put on you in the past couple of years. Talk about that. What did you go through on the bench and from that perspective?
Well, we've seen a big change. In 18 years, we went from all paper filings to it's all online or computer generated now. So that's a big change. But we went through a series of budget cuts in the judiciary going back probably 10 years or more ago. And I mean, there were severe budget cuts. There were people laid off, programs were discontinued that really promoted justice and tried to reduce recidivism and deal with the drug problems that all society deals with. So that was probably the biggest frustration of not having the proper funding for the judiciary and losing the resources, and we had limited resources to begin with. And so we're still trying to recover from all of those budget cuts that we went through.
Right. And what did that do to litigants that were cogs in the wheel of the system?
Well, of course, it slows things down sometimes, and they used to say justice delayed is justice denied, but it reduced the number of jury weeks from like 44 jury weeks a year to at one time as low as 20, I believe, and then we gradually got some of those back, and at the last count, I think we had like 28 jury weeks a year, but that's still a significant drop from what we had when the budget cut started.
It is. So that seems like a long time. If only 28 people can, or 28 jury weeks, not necessarily 28 people, but a very few amount of trials that can be had during that time. How long do you think it really takes from a person that gets arrested to someone actually getting to trial?
Well, the last figures I saw, it's somewhere minimum, and this is just minimum, a year. And sometimes it can be even longer depending on the complexity of the case, the problems associated with the case. I mean, it takes over 2 years to get a drug analysis done from the Department of Forensic Sciences, which went through all these tremendous budget cuts too. So DNA takes even longer to get the results back from the lab. So, I mean, it slows everything down when you don't have the resources to process stuff.
So if you have a, how can that prevent the state from proving their case, or from the defense being able to shed light on what really happened that day and put up a proper defense? What are some of the issues that go into make that difficult?
Obviously, if you can't get a DNA result, test result from the, let's say it's the prosecution that needs it, juries love DNA. I mean, it's so scientifically proven to be accurate that it's a tremendous tool for a prosecutor if he's got it, and can many times establish guilt beyond any doubt. Same can be said for the defense. If you've got someone who didn't do it and you're sitting in jail waiting on a DNA result for 3 years, and it turns out to exonerate the person, then they've lost 2 or 3 years of their life sitting in jail waiting on the results. So it can have a big impact on people's lives and the system. And it slows everything else down behind it. So
when we started in the 70s, I recall that alcohol was such a huge component of so many cases. And now it seems to be drugs.
Well, the drugs, it's a tremendous problem. As you know, the opiate epidemic with heroin and fentanyl, and those drugs are just, it's almost an epidemic proportion in this state, particularly in Jefferson County. At one point, we were getting 1 OD a week from heroin and fentanyl. So it's a tremendous problem. It's just a sad state of affairs.
So there are now programs that the courts offer when people are at least charged with drugs, at least some drugs?
Well, we have programs. You know, we're limited in the programs we have, and it all gets